Did you know that less than a century ago, a diagnosis of diabetes was a slow, certain death sentence? There were no medicines, no injections, no cure, only despair. Parents watched helplessly as their children wasted away, their bodies shrinking, their energy fading, their hope disappearing. Hospitals were full of patients who knew their days were numbered. It's hard to imagine now, in a world filled with technology, medicine, and progress, that one of humanity's deadliest conditions was once untreatable. But all of that changed. Because of one man's determination, one student's loyalty, and one groundbreaking discovery: insulin. This is not just the story of science. It's a story of courage, failure, compassion, and a miracle that redefined what it means to save a life. The history of diabetes stretches back thousands of years. Ancient Egyptian scrolls describe patients whose urine attracted ants, a mysterious clue to what we now know as sugar. Greek doctors gave the disease its name, diabetes, meaning to pass through, referring to the body's inability to hold onto fluids. In India, ancient physicians noticed that ants gathered near the urine of the sick, calling it madhumeha, the honey disease. Despite these early observations, for centuries no one knew what caused it. In the 1800s, scientists identified that diabetes destroyed the body's ability to use sugar, but they didn't know why. By the early 1900s, things became tragic. Hospitals were filled with children diagnosed with diabetes, and doctors had no weapons to fight it. The only treatment was starvation, literally starving patients to keep their blood sugar low. Children were put on 400-calorie diets, a few vegetables, black coffee, and near constant hunger. They would survive weeks, sometimes months. But eventually, every single one would die. Imagine being a parent during that time, watching your child slowly fade, powerless to help. Doctors tried everything they knew, but science had no answers. In 1920, a young Canadian surgeon named Frederick Banting sat awake one night, unable to sleep. He was struggling with his career, uncertain of his future. But that night, he came across a medical article about the pancreas and its role in digestion, and something in his mind clicked. What if, he thought, the pancreas produces something, a substance, that controls blood sugar? And what if I can find it? Others had tried. All had failed. But Banting was stubborn. He believed the answer was there, hidden in the pancreas, waiting to be discovered. He brought his idea to Professor John MacLeod at the University of Toronto. MacLeod was skeptical but intrigued. He agreed to give Banting a small laboratory, 10 dogs for testing, and a student assistant, Charles Best, just 22 years old. The summer of 1921 was hot, humid, and relentless. Inside their tiny lab, Banting and Best began their work. They removed the pancreas from dogs, studying how the absence of it caused diabetes. Then they attempted to extract the mystery substance from healthy pancreatic tissue. The experiments were brutal, messy, and exhausting. Equipment broke. Temperatures soared. Banting and Best often slept on the lab floor. They ran out of funding, food, and patience, but they refused to give up. Slowly, after dozens of failed attempts, a breakthrough appeared. One of their diabetic dogs, dog number 92, was injected with the pancreatic extract. Within hours, her blood sugar began to drop. She stood up, her breathing steadied. Banting and Best looked at each other in disbelief. They had done it. The substance inside the pancreas was real, and it worked. They had discovered insulin, but proving it in animals was not enough. The world needed proof in humans. On January 11, 1922, in Toronto General Hospital, a 14-year-old boy named Leonard Thompson lay dying from diabetes. His body weighed less than 30 kilograms. His breath smelled sweet from excess sugar, a telltale sign of his condition. His father agreed to let Banting and Best try their new treatment. The first injection wasn't perfect. It caused an allergic reaction. Banting refused to give up. With the help of biochemist James Collip, they purified the insulin and tried again. This time, the results were miraculous. Leonard's blood sugar dropped. His energy returned. His life was saved. Nurses cried. Doctors applauded. A new era in medicine had begun. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Within months, insulin was being produced in laboratories around the world. Eli Lilly, a pharmaceutical company, partnered with the team to manufacture it on a massive scale. Suddenly, a disease that once killed everyone it touched was now treatable. Children who had been preparing to die were going home. Families reunited. Schools saw diabetic children return to class for the first time in history. In 1923, Banting received the Nobel Prize in Medicine, the youngest laureate in history at that time. He immediately shared the honor with Charles Best, refusing to take full credit. But what truly made their discovery legendary wasn't just the science, it was their humanity. Banting, Best, and McLeod decided to sell the patent for insulin for $1. Because they believed that life-saving medicine should belong to the world, not to profit. Banting famously said, "Insulin does not belong to me. It belongs to the world." It was an act of pure integrity, a moment where compassion triumphed over greed. The years that followed changed medicine forever. Insulin opened the door to modern endocrinology, the study of hormones. Over time, scientists improved it. Animal insulin became human insulin. Then synthetic insulin, safer, purer, and longer-lasting. By the late 20th century, new delivery systems emerged. Insulin pens, pumps, continuous monitors, all designed to make life easier for millions of people living with diabetes. But even with all the progress, the core of the story remains the same: a spark of curiosity, an impossible idea, and two people who refused to quit. The discovery of insulin transformed not only medicine, it transformed what it means to be human. It taught us that science, when guided by compassion, can perform miracles. Every injection of insulin today carries that legacy, a drop of hope born in a small Canadian lab a century ago. One idea, one dream, one discovery that saved millions. If this story sparked an idea in your mind, imagine what the next one could do. Like the video, subscribe, and stay curious with Mind Story for You, where stories spark ideas.